Hi guys, welcome to this video. If you're new here, my name is Liv. I'm 27 weeks pregnant with our first little baby. We're expecting a little baby boy October 19th. And this is just going to be a second trimester recap video. I just wanted to make this because maybe you're watching this to figure out what to expect for your second trimester. I know I've watched a ton of these videos just to kind of get an idea of what to expect during the second trimester, but also I wanted to make it for myself so that I can go and look back and see what my second trimester of pregnancy was like. And I'm not a pregnancy expert, but I googled and it says the second trimester is like 13 to 27 weeks of pregnancy, and so I'm 27 and 4 days. But starting at 13 weeks, this was when I had a doctor's appointment, and this is when I figured out that I had O negative blood. I mentioned this in my first trimester video, but this is when the doctor said I was going to have to get a RhoGam shot because Tyler has positive blood. And usually you get the first shot at 28 weeks, and this is just in case your baby has positive blood. That way your body doesn't start creating antibodies against that positive blood. So I'm going to get it at my next appointment, but I'll be 30 weeks at that appointment. And then also after birth, they test the baby's blood, and if it is positive, then you get another one, just because like when your blood's mixed during birth, you don't want to create antibodies against that. But I'll put a link down below of other information that I've gotten, and that probably explains it a lot better because again, I'm not a doctor. Also, this is when I stopped feeling sick. I never really got morning sickness. It was usually like in the afternoon or at night that I would feel a little nauseous, but it was never really bad, so I'm really thankful for that. But this is also when it kind of stopped happening. And then I wrote down 15 weeks is when I started showing, and I took a picture one morning of when I was like, oh my goodness, my stomach is so big. But now looking back to it compared to now, my stomach is like huge now compared to that. So it's when I started showing, but there wasn't really anything there. And then 17 weeks is when we found out the gender. We found out we're going to have a little baby boy. Because of everything going on with the virus and everything right now and the visitor restrictions at the hospital, Tyler couldn't come into the ultrasound with me. So I had the doctor write down on a piece of paper what the gender was, and then once I got home, we opened it together so that we could still find out together. But I did make a video of us telling our friends and family, so make sure you check out that video after this because it was just really fun getting everyone's reactions. And then 18 weeks is when I actually felt the baby move. I still remember we were sitting down during a Zoom Bible study because we couldn't meet in person. And all of a sudden I felt this big jolt in my stomach, and it was so weird. It kind of startled me almost. And then it kind of happened a few more times after that. And then I wasn't 100% sure if it was the baby, but then the next day and every day after that, I would feel the same feelings, and it just kept getting stronger and stronger. So I was like, okay, I know that was the baby then. And it was just so exciting because everyone was like, oh, you'll feel little flutters in your stomach. And I never knew if it was just my stomach digesting food or if it was actually the baby, but this was the first time that I knew it was actually the baby. This was also probably the week that I actually started to show more, and I didn't have to necessarily push my stomach out to make it show. And then at 20 weeks is when I started kind of getting heartburn / acid reflux, but it was only really when I would eat too late or I would have spicy or tomatoey foods, and it really wasn't that bad compared to what some people have, so I don't want to complain too much about it because I feel it wasn't that bad. But it only lasted about 6 weeks, so probably around 26 weeks is when it kind of started not really happening anymore. And then at 21 weeks, I started getting this burning feeling in my ribs. My sister actually had the same thing during her pregnancy, and the doctor said that it was muscle separation, and it just happens on this right side of my ribs. And it hurts pretty bad when it happens, but it's usually just random times throughout the day. I don't think it's the baby kicking up there, at least when it started. Now sometimes I feel I'll feel the baby up there and then I'll start feeling some burning happening. But most times it just happens if I don't have good posture. Even just sitting on the bed while making this video, if I'm kind of slouching over, it kind of starts to burn a little bit. But it usually helps if I walk around or if I just stretch it out. I talked to the physician's assistant, that's who did my last doctor's appointment, and she kind of just said as long as it's not my liver, everything's fine. But that kind of made me nervous because I'm not 100% sure if it's my liver or my ribs. I think it's the ribs though, and after talking to my sister, it seems it was the same thing that she had, and it was just muscle separation in the ribs. Also around 21 weeks is when my hips started to hurt a little bit more. They kind of just get achy. It usually happens if I'm just walking around too much during the day. And then at 21 to 23 weeks is when I started getting Charlie horses in my legs. This is probably one of the worst symptoms because they hurt so bad, and it's always been in the morning. It's usually like either when I first wake up and start to stretch, or like when I go to flip to my other side, or sometimes they'll wake me up right out of my sleep. But it's also usually like if I forget to take a prenatal one day, then like the next morning before I take my next prenatal, I get Charlie horses. Sometimes before being pregnant, I would get them in my foot, but I've never had them where it's like your whole leg is just so tense. My mom had this issue when she was pregnant too, but I just try to eat, I think they say like bananas for Charlie horses, but it hasn't been happening as much lately, so that's good. This is also when I probably started to feel the baby actually move around instead of just like little kicks here and there. Like I can feel them like flipping around in my stomach. If they flip around, I don't know exactly what they're doing in there, but this is when I started feeling more of that. And then 24 weeks is when we picked the baby name that we will most likely use. Before this, it was I had a name that I liked and Tyler had one that he liked, but we never really could find a good name that we both liked. And I have to give credit to Tyler because he's actually the one who came up with it. He found it. We were at a campfire in Caseville talking about baby names, and then Tyler found this one. And it's a lot different than any names that either of us have ever come up with, or than any names that are in my family already. But I think this is the name we're gonna go with. I still need to get a little bit more convinced about it, but Tyler's 100% on it. And also I've made 2 baby names video. One is a baby boy name video and one's a baby girl name video. So if you're looking for baby names yourself, you should definitely check those videos out for some ideas. And then 25 weeks is when I could actually start seeing the baby move from the outside of the stomach. I have a video that I'll insert here. It's kind of hard to see because this is the first time that it was happening, so you couldn't really tell that much. 25 weeks is also when I took the glucose test for gestational diabetes, and that all came back negative, but it took so long to take the test. I was probably there waiting for probably 2.5 hours because it took a while to even get in to be able to get my blood drawn, and then I had to wait and get the drink, then I had to wait for an hour. So I would definitely recommend probably going a little later in the afternoon to my future self watching this video, because when I was finally done with taking the drink and probably halfway through waiting is when there was no one else in the waiting room. But the whole test itself wasn't that bad. Getting my blood drawn was kind of bad because they had to prick me 4 different times altogether because at the beginning they couldn't find a vein to go through. But the drink itself wasn't that bad. It was fruit punch and it honestly tasted kind of good. It was really sugary and it kind of burnt my throat a little bit because I think of how sugary and syrupy it was. So if you're going to get that test done, I would definitely recommend bringing water just in case. The hospital would probably have some, but just in case. I brought my own and I'm so glad I had it there because it helped me feel a little better after drinking that drink. And then 27 weeks is when I could kind of start feeling the baby from the outside of my stomach. If I can kind of feel him pressing out of the side and I put my hand there, I can feel I don't know if it's a foot or a hand or his head, I don't know what it is, but I can feel something's there. And then it's cool because I can feel him kind of move back into my stomach instead of right on the edge. And then 27 weeks is when I first felt the baby get hiccups. It was actually a couple nights ago. They were pulses every 2 to 3 seconds in my stomach. It only lasted a few minutes, but I was asking my sister about it and she was yeah, that's probably hiccups. But it was so weird to feel. And I've been getting a lot more out of breath and tired throughout the day. Even just talking during this video, I've been getting out of breath. So I'll just have to sit down and take some breaks throughout the day. And lately, to stay active, I've been doing disc golf. It's not really an intense sport or whatever you would call it or anything like that. But for me, while being pregnant, it's a lot more intense than from before. And now that the weather's been nice, we've been playing probably at least 3 times a week. One weekend we played 4 days in a row. And I'm usually fine up until around hole 10. Then I start getting a lot more tired. And then by the end of the game, I'm usually ready for a nap or something. I think altogether from before I was pregnant, I think I've gained 26 pounds, which different things that I've read online say that it's normal for the height that I am and the weight that I was before. But I think it's also I'm a little bit on the higher side of being 27 weeks pregnant. I'll also insert a picture video right here of what my bump is looking like so far, but I'm definitely showing now. And right now I'm almost done with my baby registry for my baby showers. The last thing that I need to put on there is a bassinet, but I don't know which one to get, so if you have any good suggestions, comment them down below. I'm also going to be making a video of what I got from my baby shower and what I put on the baby registry list that I made. I watched tons of these videos while making my baby registry, so I just wanted to be able to make a video to put out there in case a new mom is looking for some ideas. I think I've also started nesting a little bit. I started cleaning out the baby's closet. It's probably like one of the biggest in our house, so I just kept boxes of random things in there. But I've gone through all of those boxes. First it was just kind of to make room for different baby stuff that we're gonna get, but then it turned into me going through all of the boxes in the basement too, and just like throwing away a ton of stuff that was garbage, or like donating a bunch of stuff that we just needed to get rid of. But I think that might be considered nesting, or I'm just excited to start working on the baby's room. But that's pretty much everything that's been going on during the second trimester of my pregnancy. So far it's been pretty great, easy. Like, I don't want to jinx myself, but it hasn't been too bad, so I'm really blessed with that. And if you had any questions about any symptoms or anything that I said during this video, just comment down below and I would love to answer your questions. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you check out my baby boy name and baby girl name videos, and we'll see you in the next one.